No, I appreciate y'all actually being here on time. That's good. If Ryan would just show up, that would be helpful.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah, you're probably very familiar with him never being on time for anything.
Nope. Anytime you try to do anything.
Guys, I'm so sorry I'm late.
Yeah,
We know.
we know you just got here, except they got here 20 minutes ago.
On time?
Yeah, I'm just gonna. Okay, well, see, listen, I'm really sorry. Like, my alarm.
Sorry to make you here on time.
God, harsh.
It's true.
True.
Listen, I didn't realize my alarm was set for a later time.
Hey, do you know what today's conversation is about?
No, actually, I forgot what we were going to talk about.
Time management.
That's awkward.
Yeah.
Nice of you to join us. Maybe you'll learn a thing or two.
Maybe I will.
Welcome to the video.
Definitely talk.
Welcome to the video. My first question for y'all is, why is time management so important? Ryan, why is time management so important in college?
Oh, put me on the spot.
Yeah.
I gotta start this off. All right. I've learned the hard way, so that's probably why I'm sitting in the circle, because I'm the one that can, I guess, provide some testimony to that. Time management is definitely super important because you don't have a mom to kind of tell you what to do around anymore, and that's you realize that that's more of a blessing than you think. So take advantage of that while you have it right now. But yeah, seriously though, like, I didn't realize how much my mom basically got me up in the morning for my 7:30 a.m. start for school and made sure that I was doing all my responsibilities and stuff. And so when you get to college, you get a real big culture shock and realize that mama's cooking's there, it's no more, like, it's not there. And then also, she's not gonna tell you, what to do next.
Brooke, why? Like, why is time management so important? Just in the big idea of a freshman year and making this transition, Ryan just talked about it, like, your mom's not there anymore to, knock on your door or come pull the covers off of you and make sure you get out of bed and get to where you need to go. So why is it so important, not just for getting up in the morning, but just in the grand scheme of things, why is time management so important?
I think that time management is really important because you're going to need to be on top of all your schoolwork, and then at the same time make sure to manage yourself and make sure that you're taking care of yourself, making sure you shower, sleep, eat and eat well, because you can't just have French fries every single night. That's not gonna be a good meal, And I think that honestly just makes your life a lot healthier, is if you have time management on your side.
Yeah, so it's been a long time since I've been in high school. So thinking about the difference between high school and college is a long, long time ago. But Nick, I heard you agreeing a lot when she was talking about that. What are some of the differences you experienced that maybe you were like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how good I had it? Or, freshman year is awesome. The freedom that comes with that is great, but there's also some responsibility in how you navigate that.
For sure. In high school, I was an FFA, did raised animals, had practices for public speaking and CDE events and stuff like that, and so everything was given to you. Your coaches would tell you when you were going to practice. Your animals had to be fed at a certain time, and then school, you legally had to be there at a certain time. But when you come into college, you get to pick and choose what you want to do, what you don't want to do, and when you're going to do it. So there's a lot more free range of when your schedule's going to be. And time management comes into play with that, because if you don't manage your time well, you're going to get overbooked. And that's one of the worst things you can do with freshman year. And honestly, that was something that I did, is I got overbooked, and you don't have time to make everything. And so you have to pick and choose which ones are most important to you and which ones you have time to do as well.
Yeah, Brooke, you were nodding when you said I got too involved freshman year, and you're like, yeah, I can attest to that. So let's talk about getting involved. At A&M, there are over 1,000 student organizations. There's intramurals, there's club sports, there's churches, there's all of these leadership things you can do and classes, and that's not to mention the social scene and everything that comes with that, and roommates and all the other things you can get involved in. So let's talk about, and Brooke, you can get us started, let's talk about getting involved freshman year and how that fits into this idea of needing to be wise and manage your time.
I think, honestly, a big thing whenever you're considering orgs at A&M and how to manage your time is what's going to benefit you the most. So for me, I'm wanting to go to vet school. So for me, joining an art club, yes, I might enjoy it, but if I'm spending a whole ton of my time in that, I'm not gonna benefit as much from that. But for me, going out and getting a job at like the GI lab or working at like the small animal clinic, like I'm gonna get experience, be able to put on my resume, also enjoying what I'm doing because I picked that major for a reason, but I'm also using my time wisely. And if you plan your schedule like that, then you can still make sure that you're being involved in like other clubs and things.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about even A&M just getting started. There's over 1,000 student organizations. Ryan, you've done both Blinn and A&M. There aren't as many options at Blinn, though there are still ways to get involved. So talk a little bit about getting involved on campus at Blinn, and then how you balanced all of that in that transition to A&M, et cetera.
Yeah, honestly, one of the benefits of being in Bryan College Station is that you have a cool opportunity to get involved in organizations that aren't really specific to A&M exclusively, and so that's a benefit. Personally, you know, I feel like I wasted opportunities to dive into that freshman year, just because I was fearful that, okay, well, if I'm going to go to A&M next year, like, what's the point of me developing this here? That was honestly a regret of mine. I know that student government organization or association is a huge, big deal at Blinn. A lot of people get involved with that I knew. And on top of that, there's different organizations. I know that BSM and the Wesley Foundation both have chapters at Blinn as well, for those that are looking for Bible studies. And then also there's tons of different organizations to get involved with that usually a lot of professors take big sponsorships in, and they'll promote it within classroom environments, which I think is pretty unique as well about Blinn specifically. But for me, I feel like I was battling this worry of, okay, well, if I'm gonna go to A&M next year and I can look forward to the organizations they have there, then I don't need to get involved in anything here.
So what else would y'all say about getting involved? Obviously, there are so many opportunities. What would be your advice to a student who's coming in, walking into freshman year, and being exposed to a ton of things that they haven't had the opportunity to do before, and it all looks so appealing? What would be your advice to that student?
I would say too, kind of like what Brooke talked about, doing like what benefits you. Also just think about what you're passionate about. And so like that's one thing that I thought about when I was coming in, because like you said, there's 1,000 organizations, over 1,000 that you can get involved in, and they're all great and they all do great things. But like one thing for me is like, as much as they were all appealing, I need to think about what I was passionate about.
It's good. Okay, so we're gonna do some quick hit topics. I wanna talk about several different things really fast, just some quick answers. First thing that comes to mind when it comes to time management and studying, what is your best tip or strategy, Brooke?
For me, to begin with, I love writing my schedule down. Like Ryan said, using a planner is really important. I like making my own on like a piece of paper for every single class, so I can have like this massive like chart of all the stuff that I have to do, and it's more attainable, and then you feel more in control when you have it right in front of you. And I think that helped me the most. And something else that has been super beneficial is for every single exam, I would go through and take my study guide and basically make like a piece of paper study guide. And so whenever you come to the final, you have all these different study guides and you only have 4 pieces of paper to study. Instead of looking at like this massive binder of like scariness from this whole year, you have like these 4 pages and you're able to like break it down a lot easier.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, sleep. Talk to me about sleep.
Don't look at me like that.
I know you love sleep, so talk to me.
Yeah, I really do, honestly.
When it comes to time management, making it a priority.
Yeah, you know, that honestly is a big one. So at Blinn, they have this weird scheduling thing. A lot of you will figure out quickly, I'm sure, where for an 8 a.m., it's really 7:45 a.m. is when it starts. And if you live in College Station, that's still like a 20-minute drive to campus. And so you really have to wake up like super early. Like I said about the mom thing, like I learned very hard my first semester here that my mom was not gonna wake me up in the morning, so I had to get up. And so it's really easy to sleep through classes and to just find times to take naps. And I'm not discouraging you to take a nap, but just because I'm not gonna lie, like I take a nap every once in a while. It actually is scientifically proven, I'm sure. I don't know, some of y'all have maybe found that article, I don't know. Find proof, I'm sure there's proof somewhere, I've no doubt.
Depends on how long you're napping.
Right, exactly.
beneficial.
Make sure it's healthy. That's what we'll talk about in the personal health video. But what I mean by that is that in all actuality, like there's a time frame that you need to find for sleep. I know like one of the biggest things that, especially if you maybe are coming out of high school not really knowing how to study, a lot of people want to like pull an all-nighter and they just want to live that stereotype of like, oh, I'm a trooper, like I stayed up all night to study. I promise you, it doesn't work that well, especially in college.
Okay, so we've talked about studying, we've talked about sleep. FOMO. FOMO is real, and I think FOMO is one of the biggest enemies of time management and staying on top of things. So talk to me a little bit about FOMO and how you combat that. This fear of missing out. Your friends are going out, but you know that you need to study, you know that you need to sleep, you know that you have other things you need to do. How do you combat that? Megan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I get FOMO so bad. It's such a bad habit of mine. But one thing that I've kind of found is I kind of plan my schedule around knowing I'll get FOMO. And so like if I know like on Friday nights my friends are gonna want to hang out or I'm gonna want to do something, I'm not gonna want to study, then I'll try to study Friday morning.
Yeah.
And I'm a morning person, so this kind of works for me, but I'll wake up if I don't have class. Like so this semester I had a class from 8 to 9 and I didn't have class again until 12:45. And at the start of the semester I would go home and take a nap in between that time because going to class at 8 a.m. is super early.
Is 10 a.m. a nap? I think that's just going back to bed.
Okay, whatever you want to call it and title it, that's what I would do. I would go home and I would sleep for like 2 hours and then I'd go back to class. And so I would kind of do all of my stuff. Like I would try to be done with my schoolwork by around 4 or 5 o'clock at night, so I wouldn't have to plan on studying at night when everybody wants to hang out.
I like that. The idea of knowing, even if you don't know what your friends are going to want to do, you know that there's probably going to be something coming up on your schedule, and so just creating some margin to be able to do that. Yeah.
I would like to add 2 things, and one's kind of a joke and one's not. But the biggest thing to plan around at A&M is football games.
Sure.
Because if you're
Don't
on
plan
campus,
anything on Saturday if it's a home game.
If you are on campus and you know you have to study because you haven't studied and you walk past that stadium and you hear that football game, you're not going to be happy about it. So study around football games. But the second one on a more serious note is actually my life verse kind of ties into this, and it's Hebrews 12:11. And just to paraphrase it, it says like discipline in the present is painful, but the reward is righteousness.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to studying, when you want to go hang out, like it's gonna suck, like not being able to go out and hang out with your friends. But if you study and if you study well and make a good grade on that test, it's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
So sweet.
Like it's gonna be worth that one missed night at Harry's or that one missed meal.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, we have 2 more quick hitters, and Brooke, you touched on this a little bit. Going home. So freshman year, it can be so either appealing or the opposite. It's like, I just got away from 18 years of being at home. I'm never going home again. Probably not the right approach, right? If you want a healthy relationship with your parents. But also going home every weekend is maybe not the right approach. For some people it might be, but talk a little bit about, and Brooke, I want to start with you because you brought it up, but I want to get all of your input on this idea, especially freshman year, of the importance of the frequency of going home, keeping those relationships alive, etc.
For me personally, with my relationship with my parents, when I went to college, it was crazy because it got 10 times better. And I find that with a lot of people, honestly. And I think it is because you get this like detachment and you get this time to grow as yourself and you find this appreciation for them, which you're not able to find when you're living with them the whole time. So I definitely think that if you're trying to build those relationships, you need to make sure that you put in the time to call them and like catch up. And I'm not saying call your mom like every hour because she might get annoyed and you might need some more friends. But making sure you have like that time to honor them and like be respectful because they are sending you to college. And so making sure like you're being able to show that you're grateful for that and thankful is really important.
Megan, anything to add?
I just think, everything they said is good. I just think it's really important to find that balance because I know for me, like I have younger siblings so when I like first came to college, my parents wanted me to come home every single weekend and I was on the opposite end of the spectrum and I was like, no, like I'm developing a life here, I'm developing friendships and commitments in church and all these different things here, like I don't want to go home ever, and they were like, well, come home every single weekend, and it was just hard because we were both pulling in different directions. And so I think it's really important to meet in the middle, and it's important to like make those phone calls or send those text messages. To text my brother and say, hey, happy first day of school, like that meant so much more to him than I ever thought that it would, but because he's so used to me being at home and seeing me every day for his whole life. And it's also like important to remember, kind of like he touched on, like you have, like, you're developing commitments here, like you're going to church, you're finding community. If you're making friends here but you're going home every weekend, you are going to miss out on building those relationships. And then when your friends get to Friday night, they're going to be like, well, don't invite her, she's probably going home because she's never home. Keep your relationships here and make sure that those are important, but also keeping your relationships at home and valuing those.
Okay, so last thing as we wrap up, one quick piece of advice to an incoming freshman who maybe is feeling a little overwhelmed. We're just scratching the surface of this conversation. So one quick piece of advice that you would give to a freshman who maybe is feeling overwhelmed. Go for it, Ryan.
Yeah, first and foremost, be flexible. Like, be prepared for like your life to just completely change the way that you do things.
Megan, one quick thought.
Find what works for you, because what works for you might not work for me, and what works for me might not work for Brooke or work for Nick or for Ryan, because everyone's just so different. And so don't try to take what somebody else does and completely model your time management schedule the same way, because it might not work for you.
Nick?
I'd say don't be afraid to reach out if you need help.
That's good.
There are plenty of people just in all types, like whether it's at church or whether it's at work or whether it's in an organization or your counselors. They want to help you. It might take some time depending on what you need, but you're going to find someone who's been through what you're going through and is going to be able to help you through that.
Yeah. Take it home,
Success
Brooke.
Center.
I think being open is really good to new friends, to different organizations as well, to classes and relationships with your professors, because if you're like, you know what, I'm not gonna go do that org, I don't think like those people are gonna like me. If you don't try, then how are you gonna know?
Yeah.
And I think like Howdy Week is really important for that too, and not a lot of people like take that or use it really well to their advantage, because there are so many orgs there, and they just want to know you, and they want to be able to bring you into their org and get you connected. And I think making sure that you're putting yourself out there to do that and have this open mind of like, you know what, it might not be perfect this time, but I can always try again with a different org, or I can try again with different people in this organization. So
yeah, awesome. Very good. Well, I hope I know that was helpful for me, and so I hope that was helpful for y'all as well. And yeah, thank y'all for being a part of this conversation.
yeah.
Sweet.